Yeah, it looks like Wentworth Douglas is planning to kill David today at September 20th, 19 sorry, September 20th, 2024. I just got off the phone with the office. So Dr. Romansky's office, David's primary care, told me to call Dr. Purcell. So I left them a message yesterday about this surgery. David doesn't know if he should get the surgery or not. Now they said if David gets put under, he will not come back. They're pretty sure of this. They've said this before. Well, now Wentworth Douglas in New Hampshire wants to remove part of his colon. Well, they need to speak to the doctors that have known him for 25 years because they planned on giving him surgery before, but they just can't do it. They said they can't do it before. Well, if they can't do it, or this man will be dead. And if another doctor, like Dr. Romansky has said this before, if they know something, they need to pass it on to Wentworth Douglas. But it looks like Dr. Romansky is on vacation, and Dr. Purcell was on call, but he's on vacation, and they keep on transferring the numbers back and forth. So David, I don't know what to tell David other than don't get the surgery until you speak with your doctor of primary care that's known you for 25 years. But Wentworth Douglas is picked. And now remember, what did David go in there for? A light fall. He had a light fall in public. Now they want to put him under and remove part of his colon. Now we've known that parts of his colon need surgery or need to be removed. David knows that even if he gets this surgery, it's just going to spread and more of his colon will have to be removed, which they can't put him under. So we've already known this complex problem, so it's better to shrink the tumors and try to do that. And try to make sure to make him comfortable. He's not breathing in mold. He's getting exercise, eating a healthy diet, and he comes back to life. But right now, there are people like courts. There's a lot of stuff going on with his finances. He needs a rep payee. He has a healthcare proxy, and he needs a new apartment with some social worker who I got him a couple. He has one that does paperwork. He has one at the hospital temporarily. And I need an actual social worker, like even a rep payee, just somebody he can speak with about some guidance, like a guidance counselor for old people. I am kind of that, but I have no power or any advice and he doesn't listen to me. But if somebody can file paperwork with him or somebody knows how to work the system for like for instance, he needs to file for bankruptcy. I told him to talk to his local bank who he has a bank account with and have them help him and the social worker who's really his paperwork social worker. Or you could call them service link help or they do paperwork only. They tell you that straight up. We're only going to write paperwork for them. We're only going to write paperwork for you. We only do paper. You got to know what you want, and we just fill out the paper with you. That's all they do. But they might be able to tell you where you need to get a paper. I said go to the bank, but having a counselor or guidance for those type of things is something he's going to need, as well as something I know. I don't know how to file for my last will and testament. I'm still filing for that. I'm still trying to figure out how to do all this end of life stuff. I don't have to be end of life either. I have somebody trying to kill me. Yes, my own father. Yes, when I go to the doctors trying to get better, he cuts off all care trying to kill me. Yep. Whenever I start getting epilepsy medication or people start figuring out I have epilepsy and wanting to help, my doctor tries to attack them and cut them off. He's done it with many, many agencies and doctors, just lies to them. Oh, my son's mentally ill. You're wasting your money. Don't pay it. Don't pay it. No, free insurance. Don't pay him. He doesn't need any treatment. Then the insurance companies cut off all funding. Then the doctors don't want to do any treatment because they're afraid they'll be brought up on charges. And the new any agency that I'm trying to get any benefits from, they cut off everything. Let's say I'm trying to get cash benefits because I had a seizure and I'm out of work. They call my father in the background. I'm 32. They try to get information about past Social Security cases. Instead, my father goes, he's mentally ill. He's full of shit. It's a red herring. He doesn't have epilepsy. He's just nuts. Don't. It's a red herring. It's fantasies. It's made up. He's wasting your money. Don't give him nothing. Stuff like that. But not as mad. More like a trickster. More like somebody trying to convince you not to spend money on their son, and their son is just a piece of shit. That type of conversation. So then, of course, the state doesn't want to pay me out benefits. Well, the doctors cut off some help, but because epilepsy medication has been so helpful to me, they haven't cut that off yet. But my father is trying to work to get me cut off of my epilepsy medication too, that everybody can see is helping. I move so much better, I talk so much better an hour after I take it. And when 12 hours goes by, you can see it starting to wear off too. So it is fantastic. Fantastic. But remember also, things like cigarettes can make me worse. So I got to continue staying sober. It's no problem for me unless I don't have a place to live and I'm trying to live in a snowstorm with flashing lights at my face all night or something. Or if I'm surrounded by people screaming and farting and all these lights going off and on, and I'm trying to move my body suddenly and I'm falling down on the floor. I'm trying to put cold water all over my back, causing spasms. If I try to do stuff like that, or drive, if I try to drive to live in my car, those ideas would be all bad and deadly. So shelter, out of the question. Living in my car, driving, out of the question. And even if I wanted to go to a shelter, until I have any information on paper about my actual disability, they won't let me stay there. You can't break the rules because you're disabled unless you have paperwork about the disability. Like if you're going to fall in a cold shower, like they have cold water running in a lot of shelters, you get thrown out if you don't take a shower every day. You have to go downstairs and take a shower if you like it or not. Doesn't matter, women, men, doesn't matter. They have separate places, one for men, one for women. The sex offenders love this because young men have to get naked, and a lot of these don't even have curtains. But no matter what, I got used to it. I don't give a fuck. You want me to get naked in front of other people? Fuck it. My mother and father made me do this at age 14. I'm used to it. I gotta get naked, great, in front of other people. Just like how my mother and father wanted me to at age 13, 14, because I did a science experiment. I remember that at Lowell Treatment Center for 14-year-olds. Yeah, when you go and get a burger with your family or with Dan or with anybody, they call that an outing. You gotta get naked when you come back in. Just in case you got a match in your asshole. You know, just in case you want to play with matches up your asshole or something. Yeah, these are 14-year-olds who are getting their butts checked. Yep, that was me. Why did I get my butt checked? Oh, because I took a match and held it to some slug slime to see if I could invent a whole new type of fire extinguisher or fireproof jacket for firemen. Yep, I did a science experiment. So for 30 days I was injected with medicine. They tried all different types of pills. My mother went nuts trying to make up a bunch of illnesses. Plus, on top of this, I had to get naked multiple times a week. So, that's nothing. But the cold water, that isn't nothing. The cold water, when I will go into a shelter, causes spasms where I literally fall to the ground. My head smacks the cement. I get all bloody sometimes. And I'm naked because I was in the shower. And of course, they don't like this. A naked man, unconscious or shaking on the floor, and we're surrounded by sex offenders and criminals, not a good situation. Not a good situation to be in. Now, most of the time, I can shower real quick and get out and wrap myself with a towel, and I shake and I go on my knees on the bench and try to get to the bench, and I'm shaking like I'm about to die. People are like, are you about to die? Do you need an ambulance? And I go, no, I just need to make it stop. And I just try to, actually I can feel my nervous system acting up just from remembering being on my knees on the bench. Oh, that was cold, yeah. Oh, that hurt. I can feel it still spasming out of my back just from remembering it a little bit. I can just remember how bad cold is. I mean, even walking outside and waiting at the bus stop, after 10 minutes goes by, I sometimes start seizing and I barely can move my leg to step up to the bus. And my leg is spasming out of control. It just, it's been going on for 25 years. Happens when I try to shoot a basketball at age 14. Happens when I try to throw tiles at age 13. It happened at age 7 in front of teachers right after the overdose, but not before. Before the overdose, I could go in cold water at a pool just fine. I was great at swimming at winter. This was winter. So I was wet walking through 2 buildings, and I was fine. That was age 4 4 or 5, something like that, right before the overdose. Right before, this was when I was in foster care with the heavy set lady, with no boyfriend, no husband, the one that with the eye test. When I was there and in St. Anne's, they brought me to the pool, and this was when I was at the school too in St. Anne's. When I stayed in that school, and that's the school that my mother tried to convince to hold me back first grade 1 extra year. Yes, that was my first grade teacher, was at St. Anne's in the basement. Then we transferred to a real school. Well, what was really bad, I think that when we transferred me, they had me redo first grade at another school, but it might have been that same school. Either way, my mother was completely nuts trying to make me seem stupid and disabled. Meanwhile, the teachers know I'm ahead of the class, and well, not number one, but I'm not. I'm more than a middle. I'm coming third in a spelling bee of 100, because that wasn't just our class. There was bunches of people there. That spelling bee had at least 30, 20 members, and I came in third. And then you got the puzzle test with all the groups, and I'm the one who actually did the puzzle while other people did suggestions. I'm the one who actually did the puzzle. So there's a lot of stuff like that, and I always came above on every test. Everything I was always above half. And same thing all the way for spelling. My spelling, no problem, but they were like 3-letter words. It was pretty simple. But after first grade, a bunch of shit started happening. So it's like my education stopped there. Like first, second grade, my education stops. I go to Texas. I pick up a little bit for a year. So we're talking maybe a little bit of fourth grade, just a little bit, and a lot of reevaluations. Fourth and like third and fourth, a little bit, just a little bit of each in Texas. We'll say fourth and fifth, something like that. Somewhere around there, there's like a year's worth, maybe, even though it's 2 years combined into 1 year of education, real for other people. I was probably in Texas for a year and a half, 2 years, but there was a lot of reevaluation. So we'll count that as a whole year and a half, a year's worth of education. Then nothing for 3 more years, and then you can drop me off somewhere around 12 years old. So let's say 12 years old, I pick up my education again, and it's special ed. It's all lacking because I'm being called stupid because I'm missing all my education, and I've been just living under a crazy woman's apartment. Like when I was in Maine, I was being homeschooled. And then when I was in New Mexico, I was just wandering around a mountain, seeing cool animals, and being choked out by a black man who was choking a bunch of young white kids on a couch who are too young to even be able to really talk back to their parents or understand what the hell's going on. I'm 8, Christina's 8, and her little friend who's 7. All of us getting choked out. The 7-year-old got choked out in the shower, screaming, gargling water. I'll still never forget that memory. I bet Christina Stiers remembers that one for the rest of her life too. We both sat there listening to the 7-year-old little girl get choked out naked in the shower because she took too long in the shower. All this stuff. And my father thinks it's all hunky-dory. When I try to tell my father I'm missing education, my mother did something to me, I need to go back to work already. I have a job. I want to go back to work. I'm going to lose my apartment. He goes, good. Go die. Good. No, it's all a fantasy. Good. I'll do my thing over here, Zach. You just do your own thing. I am doing my own thing. My own thing is track your ass down and get my life back. Without my thing, that is my thing. I need to live my thing. You got my life. You have stuff that is mine, Dad. So I have to track your ass down and get that if I want to live. Or I can just die. Those are my choices. Track down my father, get his information out there about my mother and what she did to me, or I can just die for 10 years and live in cold and have seizures and be denied everything because of a disability. People will call me names. Oh, he's doing it on purpose. Oh, yeah, this and that and this and that. Oh, yeah, all these fantasies that nobody understands because my father doesn't want anybody to understand what happened to me and what's going on here. Instead, he wants everybody to believe in my mother's fantasy land. We need to drug him and he'll get better. No, we've tried that. I don't get better. I just pass out sleepy. There's no money in sleeping on the floor or drooling or just putting your head on the desk. There is no money in that. So yeah, you can drug me until I'm sedated, and that's about it. You can sedate me so I'm just passed out. Well, what good is that for getting a job? That doesn't get me better. That doesn't keep me in an apartment. That doesn't get me Social Security. So what? I'm just going to be passed out in the middle of the woods in a big ball in a hole to die? Is that the plan? That my father's plan? Just drug me silly until I'm passed out? What's my plan? Okay, my plan is go to the doctor. But when I go to the doctor, they need to know my medical history. Well, my father's keeping the medical history a secret. Instead, he's injected my mother's medical history, and that's a bunch of bullshit fantasies. So, the doctors still have a bunch of bullshit fantasies that go from age 12 to like 18, 12 to 19, and they have me repeating some of them. So we got those records. We got my mother brainwashing me into believing stupid shit, like side effects from medications are diseases. You gotta remember, my mother had Munchausen syndrome. She tried to convince me constantly that I was sick and I had stuff wrong with me. Every single week, she had a new disease she was trying to convince me I had. Every single week. So if I had a side effect, like drowsiness from a medication my mother was giving me, like she was giving me Seroquel and Thorazine and these type of meds. So if I looked wicked tired, oh, I was depressed, my mother said. When she drugged me and gave me her own prescriptions before the adoption, I was tired and sedated as fuck. After the adoption, we had an adoption party. Everybody came up asking, why do you look so tired? Why do you look like you're going to pass out? And I'm looking for a place on the floor to sleep. What do you think my mother told everybody? He's just depressed. He's just depressed. So anytime I was extremely tired for a couple days from medication, my mother would tell people I'm depressed and try to convince me that I'm depressed. And then I might repeat these things because I'm only an 11-year-old child and my mother is my mother, so I'm believing it. Just like you believe that Santa Claus is coming down the chimney tonight and rubbing his nose and turning the smoke because your mother told you that was so. And how about the Easter Bunny? And how about the Tooth Fairy? Why would you believe that a fairy's coming in your room and taking putting a dollar bill under your pillow for a tooth? Because your mother said the Tooth Fairy was going to come in and get your tooth. So if a kid's going to believe that a Tooth Fairy's coming, he's going to believe that he has illnesses if the mother says it. If the mother says you got this illness and you got this illness and this, and the doctors go along with it, but they say maybe it's not true. Maybe it is. We don't know. Here's some medication. Here's some medication. No, we're cutting off the medication. No, your mother's nuts. No, your mother's nuts. No, your mother's nuts. You shouldn't take the medication. You shouldn't take it. And then when I try to ask the doctors to cut me down, they tell me nope and cut me back up. These doctors are crazy and get me sick. By the way, I lost everything at that time. The doctors said if they raised the medication up, I would get better. I got so heartbeaty, so sick in the morning, I couldn't even function. And the only way my family would even deal with me is if I cut back half. I looked so fucked up in the morning, everybody. I actually lost my job because these doctors had me on so much medication. And right before my job got lost, they told me, go check. We don't want you on all this medication at nighttime. Every morning, you can see all that Seroquel, Thorazine, and Trazodone. They gave me ridiculous high doses of all three every single night, and then Ritalin straight in the morning. What caused a really fucked up mix, because we're talking 600 milligrams of Seroquel, 200 of Trazodone, and 150 to 300 of Thorazine. And if you took, and these are every single night, and then Ritalin in the morning. And so that would screw me up. And I asked the doctor, can we cut down some of these meds? I just want to sleep and have no anxiety. That's all I'm asking for. And he goes, nope, give it some more time and we're going to go up. I think you'll see more improvement if we go up. I said, no, my job doesn't think this is a good idea. Then the doctor goes, your job can go fuck off. Your job can't tell you what medications you're supposed to take and not take. And he got all mad. And this was that stupid, angry-looking doctor. He got reports from my mother. My mother's the one who wrote everything for the doctors. My whole medical report, every single medical thing is all a fantasy that my mother made because she had Munchausen syndrome. But nobody would get her help. She's dead today because nobody would get her help. Yes, she drank and pilled herself to death, and my father tried to cover it up. But the ambulance made sure that she wasn't going to get a liver for some child. Yeah. She was even drinking with her liver failing, and she was going to get a liver transplant and take a liver from some child who needed it. So the hospital probably did something they shouldn't have, because she died in the ambulance. She stopped breathing, but she's supposed to be on breathing assisted gear. So why is she not on breathing assisted gear in the ambulance in the first place if they knew she needed breathing assistance? Because they didn't want her getting the liver transplant that somebody else needed. They knew she was going to drink. They knew that my mother was drinking with her liver failing. They knew she couldn't stop drinking. And she also was pill popping and so much more. So when that happened, they probably did something they weren't supposed to. But the record says liver failure, and she stopped breathing in the ambulance. And my father tries to say it was age. It was age. She didn't even make it to retirement. But no, she was pill popping and drinking, and then her liver failed. And that wasn't even, and she was going nuts too. She was completely mental right before she died. The year before she died, it was nuts trying to deal. And I was supposed to listen to this crazy woman. Remember, if she said jump, I was supposed to jump. So if my mother said jump off a bridge, I was supposed to jump off a bridge. And many times she basically said that. She would say, take these meds, and I would have to take a bunch of meds. And sometimes she would slip stuff into them. She was nuts. And now my father wants me to pay the price for it. He made a mistake. He made a lot of mistakes. So did my mother. But they want me to pay for it for them. They want me to pay for their sins. So now I gotta die. Now, today is September 20th, 2024. David Ganji is in the hospital. He's getting a surgery that probably isn't a good idea. I'm supposed to be out already. I was supposed to be out in Concord by the 3rd of this month. I had it all set up. But David has to pay me back the money. On the 3rd, he locked up his bank account. Now he's in the hospital. So now I'm stuck with $0, no car, no transportation. All my friends are either, like Dan, who would drive me, are either dead, or the people in Lowell have changed their numbers after years of me being up here. And then a lot of us forget to give out numbers to people when we change our numbers. So you have to go on Facebook or meet in person to get the number. Well, I can't meet them in person right now. And I don't have a Facebook that is connected to people like that. It just is too much for me, too much for my nervous system. Just like driving is too much for my nervous system, I believe somebody would get hurt and people would misunderstand the situation. And that's thanks to my father and mother again. Like if I get in a car accident because I have a muscle spasm or a seizure, because my parents are covering that up, they'll say it's reckless driving or he did it on purpose, I bet. I bet I would be the only person going to jail because he has a disability. That's it. And I've already almost been to prison because I'm just disabled. That's it. I have a seizure on the side of the road in a public area. And then they're like, what happened? Well, none of us saw it. Well, I guess, what, you flip it out, kid? What, you flip out on the fucking ground? No, anybody see what happened? This kid is all bloodied up, and he looks like he's unconscious, and he doesn't sound like he's making any sense. It says he can't walk. We need an ambulance. We don't know what the fuck's going on. Next thing you know, they're charging you with making a scene or something like that. It happens. You don't have paperwork on your disability. Like David just had a fall in public. He's going to get paperwork that he had a fall. But what happens when you have somebody else saying that everything you're doing on purpose? Like when I was bumping in the furniture, right? At age 16, all the time, all the ages, bumping in the furniture. I still do it. I've broken a bunch of watches. It drives me nuts. I'll buy a new watch, and then I'll have a spasm, and it'll go into a doorknob. It drives me nuts. My wrist always gets the doorknobs. Like once a week, my wrist will get a doorknob. My shoulders will hit stuff like doorways, walkways. My shins hit door frames, corner of tables, always. Oh, I just hit a trash can with the side of my foot from spasming over. So it happens all the fucking time. And it drives me nuts. And it's been happening since age 7 after the overdose. Just like my speech has a tendency to go high-pitched or slurred since age 7. They've known this. This is nothing new. Doctors and teachers and medical professionals told my mother and father that this was a problem in Westford, in Texas. Then they just skipped like 4 years with me. They just blanked everything for 4 years after that. So first they blanked everything with the teachers and doctors, but then they blanked everything again for themselves with New Mexico and Maine, and a little bit in Chelmsford, and then they took me back to the doctor. But at that time, they already knew that there were problems with moving my body. They already knew I was scared and I was afraid of everything with anxiety after New Mexico, after being choked out by a black man. They already know I'm having health issues. And my mind is scared. I am scared of life now. Between my mother and this black man in New Mexico, I am scared now. I am scared for my life. I've now had an overdose, and a black man choked me out for 18 months with no education, no real food. I mean, even the food, I got poisoned. I literally got poisoned for a week. I literally couldn't get out of bed for a week. I was shitting myself and vomiting for a week. I had a trash can by my bed, and all they did was bring me apple juice. Every single, like, I don't know, 6 hours, I had a glass. You gotta drink this apple juice. You gotta drink this water. You gotta drink this apple juice. Oh, can you eat? Can you eat? They left a bunch of food by my bed. Of course you can't eat. It was just toast. You're just leaving me toast anyways, what's good. But for a whole week, I'm shitting myself, puking, and I'm trying to live off of toast alone for a whole week. Well, like every time I try to get to the bathroom, I can't even get the strength to stand up. And this was in New Mexico. And do you think my parents even really knew how bad things were? I mean, they came after I recovered. They came like I think it was like on the seventh day, about 7 days in. They came when I was still sick, but I was way better than the beginning when the food poisoning happened, and it happened because the fridge broke down on a weekend. The fridge broke down probably on Friday or something, and then on Monday or Sunday, whenever it was. Let me rephrase this. The damn African American guy came out of the kitchen screaming, "God damn it! The fridge is broken on my ship. The fridge is broken and everything. Ah! Well, you little brat, you better eat it." So he cooks stuff in the kitchen. He comes out with eggs and milk. We go to drink the milk. It's sour. A bunch of kids spit it out. It's sour. I drink the whole glass because he starts yelling, "You eat it, you drink it," at all of us. There's like 20 kids. So I drink the rotten milk, and it is sour. Boo. And I tell everybody, "See, that's not too bad. It's just sour milk. It's not too bad." A little bit of chunks at the bottom I didn't drink. Okay, now the eggs. I go to take a bite. Oh, I can't. They smell rotten, like poop. And these are cooked, and they have a weird color to them, like a green. They just smell rotten. This is rotten. This is rotten. Eggs are rotten. They are. Other kids puke. They no, this is gross. And all the kids refuse. Every kid refuses to eat that gross stuff. Now, normally we have gross stuff and we just eat it. Whatever, chili, gross, but we eat it. But this is toxic, and we all know it. Even the older kids are screaming, "We'll get sick if we eat this, right? You do realize this is rotten and we can't eat this, right? Like, you can cook us bad food, like gross beans, but this is actually bad. There's like this you can't eat." Then the goes, "Oh yeah? Well, then you don't have to eat. But everybody else has to eat this, or they are going to be on the punish list or whatever." Now, for the younger kids, that means a hold. That means they take your arms and they're supposed to put it around your chest lightly. And they're supposed to do this more as a bonding experience, not as a punishment, and lift the arms to the neck and cause pain in the shoulders, arms, and joints until they're bruised. And then also cut off any oxygen coming from the windpipe. That's Toby who does it around the neck instead and pulls as tight as he can around the neck. So now we're the skinny little kids, like the girls and me. Our necks are so skinny, it's hard to choke us with our own arms until you're almost popping our sockets out of ours. So boy, did it hurt. They were trying to stretch our joints like you wouldn't believe. We were screaming, "Ah!" like we're being stretched. You ever seen those machines, those medieval machines that stretch you out? They stretch your joints out, they pull it, the pole that looks like you're going to make the guy taller. That's how Toby was trying to make our arms longer. He was trying to pull our arms around our neck, both arms, and then pull all the way around Just pull, and our joints would be stretched until we're screaming. We're screaming in pain. The little girls screaming, it hurts, stop, it hurts, crying from the pain. And then our windpipe, eventually our arms hit it, and then you can't breathe. And they would do this to us over and over. Just Toby. The other people would do it around the chest, and we'd be scared. We'd be scared. No, please, don't hurt us. But they wouldn't. The women wouldn't hurt us. But they were just like, what the hell's going on around here? And there was no teacher, no education, nothing. And this Toby, this African American, was psycho. He wanted to use us as bait to go hunt black bear and cougars in the middle of the night. He had a goldfish game where he would pick one kid to punish, and he would throw a goldfish at random kids just so he could punish them. It was crazy shit. But that's not the head. My mother was worse. Her crazy shit was drug the fuck out of them. Toby would be physical. My mother would get physical with a ruler once in a while, or a shoe at the head, or a backhand to the face, or smacking for no reason in the car. But the real problem is the drugs. She did permanent damage to me that's still hurting me today. And her statements, she bared false witness against me to try to make sure she could get away with her shit. And my father is still bearing false witness against me because he doesn't want to take responsibility. He loves the fantasy world. In the fantasy world, everything's my fault. Isn't that easy and convenient? Anything that goes wrong in my father's life can just be blamed on somebody else. Isn't that a great fantasy to be living in? So my father doesn't want to leave his comfort of his fantasy where Patricia was an angel and everything was everybody else's fault. And right now, his new wife is perfect, and they need to move on to the sunset and just leave everything behind, and everybody can die, and it's all their fault. Anything that goes wrong in their lives is their fault because it's their lives. That's the fantasy my father's been going with, even while I was literally hurt on the floor, underage, 7 years old. I could be ODing at his feet, and he would be like, not my problem. It's just ridiculous that he thinks that this is still not his problem after 25 years. All he has to do is make some statements, do what Jesus said to do, and I don't have to die. But if he continues down his road, no matter what road I go down, it's death for me. Because he set it up that way. Until he takes responsibility for his and his wife's actions, there's not a thing I can do to survive.